Iron Eagle wasn't just a teenage power fantasy, it was a Cold War accident waiting to happen. Israeli pilots nearly triggered an international incident flying real combat missions in US-marked jets. Art Scholl flew the Cessna race, then died filming Top Gun, and Morgan Freeman nearly played Chappie. Here are 15 weird and surprising facts about Iron Eagle. Fact 1. The production almost caused a real-world disaster when Israeli F-16 pilots were scrambled for an actual combat strike on Lebanon, while their jets were still painted to look like American aircraft. The filmmakers had repainted Israeli Air Force F-16s with U.S. markings and fake squadron numbers for the movie. But halfway through the 6-week shoot in Israel, several of those same pilots were called up for a legitimate military operation. Sources mention the Israeli pilots were already in their cockpits, armed with live missiles and bombs, ready to cross into Lebanese airspace when someone finally noticed the problem. The jets were covered in giant American flags and U.S. Air Force insignia. If those planes had entered Lebanese territory and engaged targets, it would have looked like an American attack on Lebanon during the height of Cold War tensions in the Middle East. The mission was aborted at the last second while ground crews frantically worked to remove or cover the American markings. The production had to halt for 2 days while the Israeli Air Force sorted out which aircraft were movie props and which were actual combat-ready fighters. The Duffer brothers publicly apologized and claimed they'd implemented new identification protocols, but the incident remained classified for years. It's reportedly one of the closest calls to an accidental international incident in film history. Fact 2. The movie that opened at number 1 and grossed over $24 million was originally turned down by every major Hollywood studio. Director Sidney Furie and writer Kevin Elders shopped the script around under the title Junior Eagle, and studio after studio passed. Warner Brothers said no. Paramount said no. Universal, Fox, Columbia, all of them rejected it as too absurd. The script sat in development hell until it reached Joe Wizan, a former head of 20th Century Fox who'd started an independent production company. Wazan took one look at the ridiculous plot about a teenager stealing F-16s to rescue his dad and saw gold. He handed it to producer Ron Samuels, who compared it to classic John Wayne westerns where the hero takes the law into his own hands. The studios thought the premise was laughable, an 18-year-old with no military training flying a multi-million-dollar fighter jet across the Atlantic for an unauthorized rescue mission. They were right that it was absurd, but they were wrong about audiences caring. Iron Eagle opened at number 1 in January 1986, earning over $6 million its opening weekend. The film went on to spawn 3 sequels, while the studios that passed watched from the sidelines. Fact 3. Iron Eagle wasn't filmed on a Hollywood backlot or a repurposed civilian airport. The production was granted access to an operational Israeli Air Force base during one of the most tense periods of the Cold War. Real combat aircraft, real pilots, and real military operations were happening around the film crew for 6 straight weeks. The Israeli military didn't just lend equipment, they integrated the production into actual training operations. When you see F-16s flying in formation or performing combat maneuvers, those are real Israeli Air Force pilots conducting genuine training exercises. The aerial coordinator Jim Gavin, who'd previously worked on Blue Thunder, choreographed flight sequences around the Israeli Air Force's existing training schedule. Security was intense. Cast and crew underwent background checks and were forbidden from photographing certain areas of the base. Some hangars and facilities were completely off limits, even to the director. The Israelis assigned military liaisons to every crew member who had to monitor what was being filmed and where cameras could point. The level of access was unprecedented for a Hollywood production, especially considering Israel was actively engaged in military operations in Lebanon at the time. It's been reported that no American production has received similar access to an active Israeli military installation since. Fact 4. The F-16 Fighting Falcons used in Iron Eagle have one of the strangest backstories in movie history. According to sources, many of the Israeli F-16s used in filming were from a batch originally manufactured for Iran before the 1979 Islamic Revolution. When the Shah fell and Iran became hostile to the United States, the aircraft sale was canceled and the jets were redirected to Israel instead. So the planes that played American fighters rescuing an American pilot from a fictional Middle Eastern dictatorship were actually built for Iran, sold to Israel, and repainted to look American for a Hollywood movie. The geopolitical irony wasn't lost on anyone involved in production. The Israeli Air Force had taken delivery of these F-16A and F-16B models in the early 1980s, and they'd already seen combat action in real strikes on Syrian targets and Iraqi nuclear facilities. The jets flying an Iron Eagle weren't just props. They were battle-tested combat aircraft with confirmed kills. Production had to work around the Israeli Air Force's operational needs, which meant filming schedules constantly changed based on whether the jets were needed for actual military readiness. Fact 5. The United States Air Force has a long-standing policy of refusing cooperation with any film that depicts the theft of military aircraft. When Iron Eagle's producers approached the Pentagon for assistance, they were immediately rejected. The Air Force wouldn't provide planes, locations, technical advisors, or any support whatsoever because the plot centered on teenagers stealing 2 F-16s. This rejection forced the production overseas and fundamentally changed everything about the movie. Instead of filming at pristine American air bases with Pentagon oversight and polished propaganda-friendly angles, they ended up in Israel with a grittier, more independent feel. The decision gave Iron Eagle a rebellious, outsider energy that actually worked better for the story than a sanitized Pentagon-approved version would have. The contrast with Top Gun couldn't be more stark. Top Gun had full military cooperation, access to aircraft carriers, and Pentagon script approval. That cooperation came with strings attached. The military controlled how they were portrayed. Iron Eagle had zero oversight and zero restrictions. They could show teenagers hacking military computers, stealing classified intelligence, and conducting unauthorized combat operations without anyone from the Pentagon looking over their shoulder. That freedom made Iron Eagle feel dangerous and subversive in ways Top Gun never could. Fact 6.
Naval vessels. Falcon 1, this is Intercom.
Soviet MiG fighters were impossible to obtain for an American movie in 1986, so the production used Israeli-made Kfir jets, repainted and modified to pass as enemy aircraft. The Kfirs were based on the French Mirage 5 design, but heavily modified by Israel with American engines and avionics. Aviation enthusiasts can still spot the deception throughout the film. The Kfirs have distinctively different wing shapes and canards compared to actual Soviet MiG-23s, which they're supposed to be portraying. The exhaust patterns are wrong, the weapons pylons don't match, and the overall silhouette is noticeably different from real MiGs. But the filmmakers bet that general audiences wouldn't notice or care, and they were right. The Kfirs got painted with fake Soviet-style red stars and hostile nation markings, and most viewers accepted them as enemy fighters. It became one of the most famous aircraft stand-ins in Cold War movie history. Interestingly, using Kfirs to play MiGs meant Israeli jets were playing both sides of every dogfight. The F-16s and the MiGs were all Israeli aircraft, all flown by Israeli Air Force pilots, all filmed at Israeli bases. The entire air war was staged by one country's military pretending to fight itself. Fact 7. The iconic opening sequence where Doug Masters races his Cessna 150 against a motorcycle through a canyon wasn't flown by Jason Gedrick. It was flown by legendary aerobatic pilot Art Scholl. Scholl was one of the most accomplished stunt pilots in Hollywood, known for pushing aircraft to their absolute limits. The race scene, set to pounding rock music, required flying a small Cessna at extremely low altitude through tight spaces at maximum speed. It's one of the most thrilling flight sequences in the film, and it's completely real. No CGI, no tricks, just Art Scholl doing what he did best. Later that same year, Scholl was hired to film aerial footage for Top Gun. He was flying a Pitts S2 camera plane, capturing cockpit shots for the film's flat spin sequence. On September 16, 1985, Scholl's plane entered an unrecoverable spin and crashed into the Pacific Ocean near San Diego. Neither Scholl nor his aircraft were ever recovered. He was 53 years old and had survived thousands of dangerous aerobatic performances. Top Gun was dedicated to his memory, and the film included the dedication card in the end credits, but his final completed work before his death was the breathtaking opening of Iron Eagle. Fact 8. Everyone thinks Top Gun invented the 1980s fighter jet movie, but Iron Eagle actually hit theaters first. Iron Eagle opened in January 1986, 4 full months before Top Gun's May release. The production deliberately chose an early release date to avoid being compared to Paramount's bigger-budget Tom Cruise vehicle. Director Sidney Furie knew Top Gun was coming and knew it would dominate the summer box office. So Iron Eagle rushed to beat them to market, releasing in the dead of winter when competition was lighter. The strategy worked. Iron Eagle opened at number 1 and had the teenage jet fighter genre all to itself for months. When Top Gun finally arrived and became the highest-grossing film of 1986, Iron Eagle got retroactively dismissed as a Top Gun ripoff, which was completely backwards. Iron Eagle came first. Top Gun just did it better, and with a much bigger budget and full Pentagon cooperation. But Iron Eagle's early release meant it captured an audience hungry for jet combat, before Top Gun satisfied that craving more definitively. And while Top Gun made $356 million worldwide, Iron Eagle made a respectable $24 million on a $10 million budget, plus another $11 million in home video sales, enough to spawn 3 sequels. Fact 9. Before Louis Gossett Jr. was cast as Colonel Chappie Sinclair, Morgan Freeman auditioned for the part. Freeman was already a respected character actor with stage credentials and supporting film roles, but he wasn't yet the Hollywood icon he'd become. Sources mention Freeman read for the role and gave a strong audition, but the producers ultimately chose Gossett, who just won an Academy Award for An Officer and a Gentleman in 1983. The character of Chappie Sinclair was named in tribute to real-life Air Force General Daniel Chappie James Jr., the first black 4-star general in U.S. military history. The filmmakers wanted someone who could embody that legacy of black excellence in military aviation while also bringing warmth and mentorship to the role. Gossett nailed it and ended up appearing in all 4 Iron Eagle films, becoming the franchise's only consistent element. Freeman, meanwhile, went on to massive stardom in films like Driving Miss Daisy, The Shawshank Redemption, and eventually played God multiple times. Both actors clearly made the right career moves. Fact 10. The plot includes one of the most ridiculous character traits in action movie history. Doug Masters literally cannot hit targets unless he's listening to rock music on a cassette player. This isn't just a personality quirk, it's established as an actual limitation that nearly kept him out of the Air Force Academy. During training sequences, Doug consistently misses targets when flying in silence. But the moment he pops in a cassette and cranks up Queen's One Vision or the Spencer Davis Group's Gimme Some Lovin', his accuracy becomes superhuman. He somehow wired a personal cassette player into an F-16's cockpit systems so he could blast music through his helmet during combat. The film never explains the physics or psychology behind this. Does the music help him focus? Does the rhythm sync with his reflexes? Is it purely psychological? Nobody knows, and the movie doesn't care. It just accepts as fact that this teenager flies better when he's headbanging to 1980s rock anthems at 30,000 feet. Real fighter pilots have pointed out this would be impossible and dangerous. You need clear communication with your wingman and air traffic control. But Iron Eagle fully commits to the absurdity. The final dogfight features Doug destroying an entire enemy airbase while Queen blasts through his speakers at maximum volume. Fact 11. Iron Eagle was produced on a budget of approximately $10 million, which was modest even by 1986 standards. For comparison, Top Gun's budget was $15 million, but Iron Eagle made its money back and then some, grossing $24 million at the North American box office. The film opened at number 1 with $6.1 million from 1,080 screens on its debut weekend. Reviews were terrible. Critics called it ludicrous, preposterous, and a total waste of time. Leonard Maltin dismissed it as a dumb comic book movie full of jingoistic ideals and dubious ethics. But the real money came later. When Iron Eagle hit home video in late 1986, it generated an additional $11 million in rental and sales revenue. That's when the studios that had rejected the script started paying attention. The combined $35 million in revenue on a $10 million investment made Iron Eagle a legitimate hit. That home video success was what greenlit Iron Eagle II in 1988, followed by 2 more sequels in 1992 and 1995. Louis Gossett Jr. appeared in all 4 films, making it a low-budget franchise that nobody expected, but audiences kept watching. Fact 12. The Iron Eagle soundtrack is a perfect time capsule of 1986 hard rock and heavy metal. Queen's One Vision became the film's signature song, playing during key action sequences and becoming synonymous with the movie. Ronnie James Dio contributed Hide in the Rainbow, while Twisted Sister's We're Not Gonna Take It pumped up the Teenage Rebellion angle. The soundtrack also featured King Cobra's Iron Eagle, Never Say Die, which became the official theme song. A music video was produced showing the band undergoing military boot camp training, with Louis Gossett Jr. appearing in character as Chappie Sinclair to drill them like recruits. Other tracks included George Clinton's funk-infused Intense, Tina Turner's Proud Mary, and the Spencer Davis Group's Gimme Some Lovin'. The album was pure 1980s excess, bombastic, guitar-driven, and completely shameless. The soundtrack peaked at number 54 on the Billboard 200, while One Vision hit number 61 on the Hot 100 and number 19 on the Album Rock Tracks chart. It wasn't a massive commercial success, but it became beloved by fans of the film. Even today, it's impossible to hear One Vision without thinking of F-16s blowing up enemy airfields. Fact 13. Director Sidney Furie has stated the idea for Iron Eagle came to him while watching the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. The Olympics had a strongly patriotic, pro-American atmosphere, celebrating U.S. athletes dominating on home soil after boycotting the 1980 Moscow Games. Furie wanted to capture that same surge of American pride and youthful energy in a film. He envisioned a story where a young American takes matters into his own hands to rescue his father, embodying the can-do spirit and individualism that the Olympics celebrated. The timing was perfect. This was the Reagan era, when movies like Rambo and Red Dawn were tapping into similar themes of American exceptionalism and taking action when the government wouldn't. Iron Eagle fit perfectly into that cultural moment. A teenager who doesn't wait for bureaucrats or politicians, he just steals some F-16s and gets it done. Furie and co-writer Kevin Allen Elders developed the script in late 1984, right after the Olympics ended. Pre-production began almost immediately, and they were filming in Israel within a year. Fact 14.
Concentrate.
Louis Gossett Jr. is the only actor to appear in all 4 Iron Eagle films, spanning 9 years from 1986 to 1995. His character, Colonel, later General Chappie Sinclair, became the heart and soul of the franchise, even as everything else changed around him. Jason Gedrick's Doug Masters was killed off in the opening scene of Iron Eagle the Seku, then miraculously brought back for Iron Eagle 4, played by a completely different actor, Jason Cadio. Directors changed, budgets shrank, and the plots got increasingly ridiculous. But Gossett kept showing up, providing continuity and credibility to increasingly insane scenarios. By Iron Eagle 3, Chappie was training a multi-generational team of pilots to fight drug lords. By Iron Eagle the 4, he was teaching troubled teens to fly while uncovering toxic waste conspiracies. The franchise became Gossett's low-budget action playground. He'd won an Academy Award for An Officer and a Gentleman in 1983, making him one of the most respected actors in Hollywood. Yet he kept returning to Iron Eagle, appearing in cheap, straight-to-video sequels when he could have been doing prestige projects. In interviews, Gossett said he loved the character and enjoyed the franchise's unpretentious fun. Fact 15. Iron Eagle secured financing through an independent production company backed by an anonymous Texas investor who had very specific requirements. According to sources, this investor didn't want pornographic content, off-color material, or violence for violence's sake. This is hilarious because Iron Eagle is essentially a 2-hour recruitment video for vigilante military action. Doug Masters and Chappie Sinclair steal military aircraft, conduct an unauthorized international rescue operation, destroy multiple enemy airfields, kill dozens of people, and face zero consequences for any of it. The body count is enormous, but apparently, as long as the violence served the patriotic rescue narrative, the Texas investor was satisfied. There's no blood, no gore, no dwelling on casualties. Enemy pilots just explode in fireballs. Buildings get destroyed in massive explosions. It's violence presented as consequence-free spectacle in service of a father-son rescue story. The stipulation shaped the film's tone. Iron Eagle is remarkably bloodless despite the massive destruction. It's like a violent video game where the action is sanitized and morally justified. The Texas investor got exactly what they wanted. A pro-American action film where the good guys win, the bad guys die, and nothing feels too disturbing or real. So there you have it. 15 weird and surprising facts about Iron Eagle. From nearly causing an international incident to beating Top Gun to theaters, this low-budget jet fighter movie was way more chaotic than anyone expected. If you learned something new, hit that like button and subscribe for more surprising movie facts. Drop a comment telling me which fact surprised you most.